Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. Now, I probably, like many of you out there, grew up watching the Voltron cartoons out there. Now, I was probably catching it on the reruns, where a lot of you out there might have seen it on the actual live replay, or some of you might have saw some of the later iterations of it growing up as a kid, watched the replays, watched all of that kind of fun stuff out there, because it's really an awesome little show. I mean, how much cooler can you get than 5 lion bots coming together to make one big giant robot and just go out there and smash a bunch of bad guys? Like, I mean, literally, it's an absolute classic out there. So we know that there's a new series coming out there from Amazon, right? It's not actually going to be a series, it's going to be a movie. We know that Henry Cavill is involved, which is generally a good sign, but the fact that it's coming from Amazon always makes us cringe and worry as well. And there's some new information coming out from the actual creator, the guy that's directing everything out there, running the whole show with the movie, and it's one of them situations where he's talking about a reimagining, which those kind of words always make anybody in these modern era absolutely cringe, because it's a giant red flag that obviously causes a lot of worries from us, and especially when it comes from Jennifer Salke over there at Amazon MGM. Hopefully they have learned a few, Jeff Bezos has learned a few of those lessons from Rings of Power and doesn't decide to not do this kind of nonsense anymore, especially with some of the changes he's been making with some of the other companies out there he owns. But of course, that's a different story or a different channel for a different topic out there. And ladies and gentlemen, we've got the latest updates now, because there was a con over the weekend, and the guy that's currently working on this film, which is only 6 weeks away from shooting, ladies and gentlemen, has given us a little bit of an update. And when it's talked about reimagining, we're going to give his whole spiel there in context to see if it actually is something we should be worried about, or if this is something we should actually be cautiously optimistic about, or maybe it's one of those best just to wait and see situations. So we're going to check out this article from cosmicbook.news, getting all of the juicy details and see exactly what we've got going on here. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share it with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing, and I could not do this without every single one of you. Also, if you'd like to leave us a comment, if you grew up watching Voltron, are you absolutely terrified of what Amazon might be? Or after hearing this guy's comments, are you maybe slightly cautiously optimistic, or maybe just cautious, or you're just going to live on the wait and see? Let us know some of your favorite memories of Voltron in the comment section down below. And if you'd like to help support the channel, please check out the links in the description. Consider becoming a member, because you guys are the reason we are able to keep the lights on around here. So thank you all very much for that, and enjoy the credits at the end with everybody's names that are already members in it as well. So from cosmicbook.news and our dear sweet Matt McGloin, Voltron movie starring Henry Cavill, a reimagining with a new generation of pilots. It's a red flag. It's a red flag. It's not all, it might not turn out that way, but it's always a red flag. Details are learned about the new Voltron movie currently in development at Amazon MGM Studios, starring Henry Cavill, where the flick will be a reimagining featuring a new generation of pilots. Daniel Quintoy is also said to be starring in the movie. Sound the alarm bells? That's kind of the question we have to ask, isn't it? The new Voltron movie is adapting the popular 80s cartoon and toy line that features 5 lions, black, green, red, blue, and yellow, that form the giant almighty robot Voltron. Their pilots are Keith, Pidge, Lance, Hunk, and Princess Allura. Additional characters even include Prince Lortor, Emperor Zarkon, Hager, Koron, King, Alpha, Sven, and more. Now, obviously, it's one of them situations where we might have some people out there in the comments going, well, you know, we should just wait and see, yada, yada, yada. And I completely agree. But at the exact same time, Hollywood has done this to us. They have conditioned us to be cautious about absolutely everything, or downright dreadful of anything, any remake they decide to do, or reimagining of any of our beloved classic IPs out there. It's Hollywood's fault. Don't blame us for pointing out the history of what they have done in the past and what they may potentially do in the future. They did this to thurselves. So we get an update on the Voltron movie through a video from VoltCon, which took place over the weekend, featuring director Rawson Marshall Thurber, who is currently in Australia preparing for the film. In the video, which you can watch below if you want, you can find it out there on the internet. We'll probably just go through some of the stuff he says, but I will show off the little set that he showed off in the video and stuff like that, because it does look pretty neat, and there's also some other particular details about that to kind of give us an idea of what they've got planned for this movie, at least some speculation aspects. Anyway, so Thurber expresses how much he likes Voltron, but what may be concerning are these comments. We've reimagined Voltron for the live-action world, and we're going to be introducing an entirely new generation of pilots. So, yeah, probably a very diverse casting when it comes to this, because we haven't seen any casting announcements. We don't know who's going to be starring in this, and honestly, that could give us a lot more information as to how much of a reimagining they are going for with this one as well. Normally, whenever a beloved IP is described as getting reimagined with a new cast of characters and new direction, looking at you, He-Man, also from the same studio, it's a recipe for disaster. And obviously, Amazon has burned us many times in the past. Obviously, we've seen what's happened with Rings of Power. You can talk about Wheel of Time. There's a whole bunch of different examples out there of the absolute abominations they have done and devastated and destroyed things. I mean, hell, Amazon bought that hot garbage, the Batman Cape Crusader, off of Warner Brothers when David Zaslav took one look at that and went, oh, hell no, I am not putting foot in the bill for this nonsense. This looks like hot garbage. And it was a very wise choice that he made. Let Amazon take the burden for that one. So this is his statement. Hi, everyone. I'm Rawson Marshall Thurber, the writer-director behind the upcoming Voltron movie from Amazon MGM Studios. I wish I could be with you all at VoltCon right now, but I'm down here in the Gold Coast of Australia preparing to make this movie. We're about 6 weeks out from shooting. I'm incredibly excited. And that actually gives us kind of a little bit of a timeline you can think about. Now, they don't have an exact release date for this movie just yet. And obviously, with all the CGI and the special effects that are going to go into this movie, it's going to take a little bit longer. But at the exact same time, so you talk they're 6 weeks out from shooting, you take 3 to 4 months for shooting, you're probably talking at some time of a release in 2026, probably mid to late year, based on kind of the general time frame that it takes for a lot of these kind of movies to come to fruition. As long as there's not any hiccups, there's not any delays, there's not a bunch of major problems or reshoots, that's probably kind of the time frame you could expect this to actually come out. Hopefully, I'm thinking would probably a trailer by end of the year, well, end of next year, end of like 2025, maybe a little bit earlier. Amazon likes to tease things kind of far out, so we'll end up seeing what happens with that going forward as well. This is one of the things that does make me at least slightly on the cautiously optimistic side. You know, I loved Voltron since I was a boy, and I wanted to make this movie since I was 8 years old. And so to finally have the chance to bring Voltron to life is beyond thrilling to me. I want to make sure that we stay true to the heart and the spirit of Voltron. And one of the things that I want to point out while he was saying this too, is you can look at this video over here, right here. And you go back here, and if you look at the little scene behind him, you can see he's got his Voltron toys in the background. Obviously, it looks like some pictures of his kids, too, which is all totally awesome. And this guy doesn't automatically scream giant tool from Hollywood that we've seen either. He doesn't have, like, some high-pitched voice. He doesn't look very, like, flamboyant. He doesn't have, like, a bunch of piercings or a bunch of tattoos or crazy hair or anything like that. He looks and sounds like a reasonable dude. So hopefully that ends up actually being the case. So this is one of them situations where he talks about, so finally have the chance to bring Voltron to life is beyond thrilling. I want to make sure we stay true to the heart and the spirit of Voltron. That all sounds good, right? That sounds a lot better than what we've been hearing out of Hollywood. Now, could this just be a change in the marketing? That's a possibility. But we'll know as soon as the first trailer, as even soon as the casting starts to get announced and we actually find out who's going to be in this, that will tell us a lot. Now, this is where things get a little spicy. In this film, we're going to be introducing an entirely new generation of pilots. Right? Now, there's certain advantages to doing that from a Hollywood creative's perspective, right? You don't have to deal with the baggage. You don't have to deal with having your actors be able the proper representation of the original characters. But, I mean, they are actors. That's kind of their job. So it does give you a little more options. You don't have to worry about your rehashing. Doesn't have to worry about being beholden to a lot of the original stories as well, since you're going in a new direction. But at the exact same time, that's one of the things that always worries us, because if they come out and tell us, look, we're going to make a one-for-one recreation of the cartoon, we're all like, yes, okay, totally. That's great. That's fabulous. That's wonderful. Sometimes these things work. Sometimes they don't. Batman the Animated Series is not a one-to-one example of what we got from the comic books, but it is still probably the quintessential, most best representation of Batman we have ever seen in film, even though it's animation. So sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. But in the modern era, it gives us reasons for pause. We've reimagined Voltron for the live action world. But we're going to stay true to the heart and spirit of Voltron and those iconic elements that you love, that I love. And so I am so excited to share it with you. So that's one of those things. You can take it a couple of different ways. Is he just trying to reimagine it so it works very well in a live action situation? Or is this more coded word language that we have seen time and time again throughout Hollywood that makes us all go, ugh, no, please don't even bother doing this. And honestly, it's one of them situations where if you're on the camp of you'd just rather not see them even try this, just to be on the safe side, I don't blame you one bit. But either way, it's happening, and we're going to have to judge it fairly on what they actually produce. You know, it's taken us 40 years to get here, but I promise you, it will be worth the wait. I gotta go. But before I go, I want to take you all on a sneak peek. I'm going to take you over to stage 8, where we're building one of our bigger Voltron sets to share with you the scope and the scale and the grandeur that we're going to go on for this film. So that's the thing here. He's trying, it seems like he's talking, obviously this is at VoltCon, so he is talking, this is a message directly to the fans. He is trying to tell us, he is giving us the excitement of saying, I promise this is going to be worth it. As a fan, I promise this is going to be worth it. Now, whether or not that's just marketing or whether or not he's an honest to God fan, let's hope for the latter and not the former, because we might actually end up getting a good Voltron series out of this. We'll see what happens. So a lot of this rest of the goes off, just talks about all the different people he works with. And of course, we're going to check out the little set piece he shows off. And they're going to show, we're going to take a little closer look at this picture too as well, because this gives you your timeline. So you've got January, February, March, and April. So there, it looks like they're going to be filming until at least April. That's the plan. And the nice part about this is they've got this all laid out in a very nice row, which is which means they actually have a plan from the very beginning. They're not just trying to make this up on the fly like we have seen so many Disney flops do over the past few years. So this is the little hall. This is the little set he shows you on right here. So obviously this looks like one of the grand halls, depending on what one of that kind of stuff it does, depending on where they go and all the different places that they go for this. It could be any number of one of the grand halls, but that's one of the things that we talked about right here in this picture back here. And honestly, I think you can see it a little bit better than the screen grab they've got back here, but you can see all this kind of stuff. So obviously this could be one of those. It could be the common room. It could be one of the war rooms. And some of you guys out there that are better Voltron fans, more hardcore Voltron fans than I am, you guys can probably tell you exactly from the designs of it what room it is. I have no idea. I'm not that hardcore. I am just your humble common nerd after all. But that I like. That's a good sign. They have a plan. They're not just going to be slapsticking this together, rewriting the script on a daily basis. And we have seen how many times that has flopped and blown up. So at least they've got a plan. So obviously here's the little list of the things. We've got Common Room to War Room, the Hall of Heroes, Balto Grand Hall, within the Voltron lore, Pigeon Chip are from the planet Balto. So we've got all that kind of stuff. Worth mentioning is the scenes are color-coded, which looks to correspond to the various lines making up Voltron. So that's probably the actors, the characters that are going to be involved with those sections. There looks to be the Big Tree, the Green Lion's Den, the King's Chamber and Anteroom, the Hangar, the Plaza and Plaza Wall, T-Bar Stubs, Speed Sleds and Tunnels, Throne Room, Gothic Spire, and the Launch Room. There's also the Throne Hall, the Bridge, the Yellow Lion Cockpit, the Blue Lion Cockpit, the Red Lion Cockpit, and the Black Lion Contact as well. So that's pretty neat. So that's a lot of information that's let out of just one little video out there. It gives us some idea, but of course, the reimagining is always what worries us, right? Because that's something that we have seen time and time again. And I'll tell you right now, I am at least cautious about this one right now. It's going to be a wait and see situation for me. As of right now, he's saying all of the right things. And at the end of the day, the only way we've ever been right about knowing that these other things were going to be a flop, knowing these other things that were going to be nothing more than a woke, diverse, casting, nonsense, spirit of the age filled garbage, is because we listen to the people involved. Because more often than not, they tell you the truth because they can't help themselves. If they're an absolute true believer, they want to make sure that you know their stuff is 100% spirit of the age filled. They want to shout it from the rooftops. They want you to worship at their false idol just like they do. That's not what we're getting from this guy. The reimagining is a code word to be worried about. But as of right now, so far, we're cautious about this one. At least that is where I land. But like I said, the casting and the trailer will tell us everything we need to know, whether or not this is going to be a girl boss, nonsense, diverse cast, garbage hiring, or if like the guy says, he's a fan and he is trying to represent the true spirit of Voltron that we all know and love. At the end of the day, Amazon, at the end of the day, guys, they will get what they deserve. So do the right thing and make the fans happy. If not, I promise you, we will be roasting you.